Howdy folks, Ranger Sly here, and today we're gonna do something special. Something I don't expect to be doing very often because I don't really like this type of video. It's gonna be an unboxing video. I usually don't like unboxing video because they take a lot of time on camera just to try to open the box, and the viewer is waiting to see what's inside. I guess for some people this is exciting. I don't particularly find this exciting, but hey, they're very popular on YouTube, so I'm gonna try one. This box came from Sweden. It came actually in a bag, in a plastic blue bag, Post Nord, it says here. Print bag M. It was closed with tie wraps, and it's a box of stuff I bought from Tomorrow's Publishing. They're an American magazine company that publish a lot of magazine and books about comics, but I guess their printer must be in Sweden because the box was mailed from Sweden. It says here on the price tag also. So we're gonna try to open this as quickly as possible. This video is dedicated to a guy I like very much on YouTube. It's Bill from Comic Mag's Musings. He does a lot of unboxing video and he does them very well. He opens the box very quickly and then he shows the book to the viewers even before he had time to see what's inside. And he has a nice voice. He has a dry humor that I like very much.
Says fragile. That's French.
Ah, fragile. It must be Italian.
So I'm gonna put the link to his channel in the description below. So Bill from Comic Mag Musings, this video is dedicated to you. Another thing that makes me cringe when I watch unboxing video is people trying to open the box with all kinds of stuff, scissors, weird things, and I'm always cringing, hoping that they don't puncture the box and damage the comic book inside. So please, when you do an unboxing video, try to have a good knife to open the box. Mine is this one. It's from Kershaw. I think it's called the Shuffle 2. Very sharp. And also it has a bottle opener on the other end to open your beer while you're reading your comics. So I'm gonna open the box off camera and then I'm gonna show you what's inside. Kudos to Tomorrow's Publishing because they're very careful with their packaging. So you saw that there was a box inside another box, and then there was a big bubble plastic wrapper. And inside the big bubble, it was another layer of smaller bubble wrapper. Then the whole package was between two cardboard. My package came with I guess a catalog of stuff. By the way, I'm ordering this book here, Holy Jolly, a book about Christmas. So let's see what was inside the box. A bunch of those were Back Issues magazine, Back Issue magazine, which is a magazine devoted mainly to the Bronze Age, I think, and maybe Copper Age a little bit. I bought this one because it's an issue about Marvel Fanfare, which was a comic book I liked very much, with an exclusive chat with editor Al Milgrom, and also featuring people like Dave Cockrum, Michael Golden, George Perez, Sandy Plunkett, Marshall Rogers, Paul Smith, and more, with a beautiful cover by Sandy Plunkett, which is an artist I think we didn't see enough beautiful art. He did a few things I think in Marvel Fanfare. Next up is Back Issue number 98, which is about DC in the 1980s, which actually was a period I transferred from being a Marvel zombie to a DC fan. And there's a focus on the Secret Origins series, which I like very much. And also on the period where Action Comics became Action Comics Weekly, which was a very interesting concept, I thought. And there's a bunch of stuff also about DC miniseries in the 80s, such as the DC Challenge, which is something I want to do a video about, and other miniseries and stuff that came out from DC in the 80s. Next up is back issue number 103. I bought this one mainly because it says here, featuring retrospective of Archie Goodwin and Mark Greenwald. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Archie Goodwin was, I think, maybe one of the best top 3 comic book editors of all time. He was a good writer too. He created Manhunter with Walter Simonson. He was a writer and editor at Warren Magazines. He did a lot of good stuff, and he died too young, unfortunately. And there's also an article about the Marvel Assistant Editors Month, which was a fun thing I thought that Marvel did for a time, with quirky comic books coming out during a month where the regular editors supposedly were in vacation, I think, or a conference, something like that, and their assistant took over the comic books and make fun stuff during that month. And the last back issue I bought was number 118, which is a issue I'm looking very, very forward to reading, which is The Greatest Stories Never Told. We always hear about unpublished projects, often great creative people that came out with an idea, but no editor wanted to do it, so a lot of dead projects, which is a sad thing, but I'm always eager to learn more about them. So this extra thick magazine, I think, will have stuff I like about it. Aside from the magazines, I also ordered a couple of books from Tomorrow's, and in the package there was this book, hardcover, Don Heck, A Work of Art. Don Heck is a much underrated and underappreciated artist, I think, because mainly because his superhero stuff that he's more known for was not his forte. I think his best work was when he was drawing ordinary people in ordinary clothes. His work in the 1950s in westerns, crime, war, romance stories was superior to anything that he did in the superhero genre, I think, in my humble opinion, at least. I do have a soft spot for his early work on the Avengers right after Jack Kirby left, and all of the founding members of the Avengers left the team, and Captain America was leading a new team of reform criminals like Hawkeye, who had been an opponent in Iron Man, and also Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who were former members of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants in the early issues of the X-Men. And yeah, this era was called Cap's Kooky Quartet. There were 4 Avengers only, and I thought Don Heck did a good job on these, especially when he was inked by Wally Wood. Anyway, this is a very interesting book, hardcover, with lots of information and interesting art in it. The other book I bought from the same package from Tomorrow's is the Star Reach Companion. I have a few of the companion books that Tomorrow's put out. I have the DC Silver Age Science Fiction Companion, the Legion Companion. I think they put out also a Thunder Agents Companion. Anyway, it's a whole series. This one is particularly interesting. It's about Star Reach, which was a publishing company started by Mike Friedrich, who was a writer who started to work in the early Bronze Age in the 70s. He was also an editor, and he was also an agent of comic book artists and writers. And a lot of his clients as an agent work on the Star Reach line of magazines. Among them, Walter Simonson, Howard Chaykin, Jim Starlin, Craig Russell, Frank Brunner, and many others, Gene Day. And the Star Reach line was very influential and kind of kick-started the whole big independent boom of comic book publisher that came out in the 1980s, like Eclipse, First Comics, Comico, and all that. So it was a very influential company, Star Reach. And since I'm doing kind of a magazines and book haul with this unboxing video, I'm gonna add a few books I bought this summer. The first one, this one is not new, it's from 2006. It's Robert Crumb's Heroes of Blues, Jazz, and Country. And it's a book based on a series of cards that Robert Crumb did. I think there were 3 sets of cards he made about old blues and jazzmen. Here are a few other. Yeah, he made card sets about pioneers of the blues, countries, and jazz genre. And this book contains all the cards he produced, and which is nice is that every card has a full page. It's a small book, but it's bigger than the card size they were originally in. So this is Louis Armstrong. So you see Robert Crumb's art, a full page, and then there's a page explaining who the artist is. So for Louis Armstrong, it's quite easy, but if you go with this guy, for example, Joe Venuti, I had never heard of the guy, and most of the artists in this book I had never heard of. And the fun part is that it also includes a CD of 21 selections made by Robert Crumb himself. So he made 7 selections from each of the categories: blues, jazz, and country. And this is the early blues, jazz, and country music, so you won't know probably most of them. Another book I bought this summer is this one. It's the complete Johnny Dynamite that was drawn by Pete Morisi, also known as Pam, who mostly worked for Charlton Comics most of his career. He was actually a policeman. He was a beat cop, and he worked on comic books at night as a side job. And so Johnny Dynamite was a pre-code, very hard-boiled detective stories popularized by guys like Mickey Spillane, for example. So Johnny Dynamite is a private investigator from Chicago. Since it's pre-code, it was pretty violent and kind of sexy at times. The introduction is by a big fan of Morisi, Max Allan Collins, who is a crime and detective writer on his own, renowned and winner of many prizes in that genre. He also was a writer in comics, of course. He wrote Batman in the 90s, I think, in Detective Comics, maybe. He was also the co-creator with Terry Beatty, who also wrote an intro of this book, of the character Mystery from Eclipse Comic. And the intro by Max Allan Collins in particular is a few pages long. It's very informative with a lot of interesting tidbits about the era, the hard-boiled detective genre, and how the writers and Pete Morisi worked on Johnny Dynamite. So a cool book. And a few days after I bought this book from Amazon, I went into a comic book store that I don't usually go, and on the shelf was an issue of Alter Ego. It's number 159, also published by Tomorrow's. But as I just said, I didn't get this in my box. It was on the shelf of a comic book store. And this issue of Alter Ego by Roy Thomas was all about Pete Morisi. So I grabbed it as a perfect companion for the Johnny Dynamite complete book. So you see here Johnny Dynamite featured on the cover. Kid Montana was a character that Pete Morisi worked for a long time at Charlton, a Western character. And of course, Peter Cannon Thunderbolt was one of the action heroes from Charlton, from the period where there was also the Steve Ditko, Captain Atom, Blue Beetle, also a character called Peacemaker. All the characters that became the basis for Alan Moore's The Watchmen. So yeah, I was very happy to get this magazine at the same time. Also bought, actually a few days ago, this book that just came out, The Best of Alex Toth and John Buscema's Roy Rogers comics by Hermes Press. So yeah, Roy Rogers comics were originally published by Dell Comics, of course. And yeah, John Buscema's, some of John Buscema's earliest work was a long run on this long-running series. So this book is not a complete collection of all the John Buscema and Alex Toth stories. It's a big sample. I think most of Toth work on Roy Rogers is in this book, but probably not all of it. And for sure, John Buscema's Roy Rogers comics is not completely collected. But still, it gives you a nice big chunk of good old-fashioned Western comic books. There's a nice introduction by Roy Rogers Jr., who was also nicknamed Dusty, who also appeared with his father, I think, in a few movies, and also in the last stretch of the Roy Rogers comic books run. And there's also introduction to both Alex Toth's career and John Buscema's career. And yeah, very interesting book. I'm a huge Western fan, as you guys may know, so I was very happy to get this nice hardcover collection. And a nice thing is that they also include some of the covers inside, the beautiful photo, colorful covers. And you see here on the side some of Alex Toth's work. Not his best page, maybe. And there's also pictures of memorabilia, like some of Roy's hat. And I'm not gonna find it now, but there's pictures of lunch boxes, movie posters. Here's one in old Amarillo, starring Roy Rogers and Trigger. Yeah, Trigger was the co-star in most Roy Rogers movies. Okay, and the last book I bought is this big one, Atlas at War. It's a thick one, as you can see. It's co-published by Marvel and a company called Dead Reckoning. It's edited by Michael J. Vassallo, who is a specialist and renowned historian of the Atlas era of Marvel comics, the comics that were published mainly in the 1950s. So yeah, this volume includes art by all the great ones: Ross Heath, Gene Colan, John Severin, Don Heck, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, of course, Joe Manili, who was Marvel's main artist at the time, Jack Davis, Mort Drucker, Bernie Krigstein, Jerry Robinson, and many others. I was happy to see this book because in their Marvel Masterwork series they only did one war volume, Battlefield, the first 10 issues of Battlefield, but Marvel produced a ton of war comics in the 1950s, and there's a very interesting introduction by Michael J. Vassallo explaining all that at the beginning of the volumes. The reproduction is very nice. The selection is perfect, touching on every major artist who worked in the war genre at Atlas. So yeah, highly recommended book. So this is it, folks. This was my unboxing slash magazine and books haul video. I hope you liked it. Like I said at the beginning of the video, please visit Comic Mag Musings channel for a ton of very interesting videos of his collection. An awesome collection, by the way, with the original art, old comics, new comics. So yeah, I'm gonna leave a link in the description below to his channel. And see you next time. Happy trails, everyone.